Okay, my name is Jeff Gregg. I'm doing this video presentation on what are universal apps and how are they used. We're going to cover those 5 things. 1, what they are, universal apps are. 2, why do they exist? 3, how are they different from other programs? 4, how you can distinguish between them and other programs. And lastly, and more importantly, how are they used? So the first one, what are they? To show you briefly what a universal app is, this is all in Windows 10. Here's some examples, a whole lot of applications. The one that's money, the one that's news, the one that's OneNote, the one that's film and TV, and one there, which I don't even know what it is, are all universal apps. Okay, so but what actually are they? Well, first of all, a universal app, whoops, I've gone to the wrong screen. I'll just go back to that. Okay. Whoops. Just to attempt to hit the start too many times. Universal apps are what Microsoft call them now, but they used to be called Metro apps, and they used to also be called Windows 8 style apps, and then later on modern apps, and then Windows Store apps, and then finally Windows apps, but now they're called universal apps. All exactly the same things, but what are they? What they are is they're applications that run on any Windows device. So the idea is any of these type of programs can run on any Windows device, as opposed to some other things, for example, stuff that was done prior to Windows 8 that cannot run on any Windows device. I'll explain that more later on. Okay, why do they exist? So that's about them, but why do they exist? Well, the reason Windows 8 the reason that universal apps exist is because they only run on types of devices or not run traditional Windows programs prior to Windows 8. For example, some tablet computers and most phones. Also, they exist so that Microsoft can compete with Apple and Google. Apple with their Android and Google with their iPads, etc. That's another reason they exist. Okay, so how are they different? Next one is how are they different from other programs? How are they different from other programs? And what I mean by other programs here is I mean programs in Windows that existed before Windows 8. So how are they different? Okay, they're different in they tend to use small specific tasks rather than trying to be all things to all people. So you have less functionality, and so therefore it should be easier to use and supposedly easier to learn. To give you an example, what that happens is we could have a simple program called calendar or calculator, all right, or calculator or notepad or something like that. However, when I say that, both of those exist in terms of apps and also in modern apps and also in the old versions as well. Okay, so the best way of distinguishing them is via this. So I'll go in and show you a couple of apps, all right? So if we go into something like, for example, the Microsoft Store. If I go into the Microsoft Store, you'll notice the first thing that happens is that it opens up and it doesn't look like a traditional Windows program. Okay, when it opens up, it's got borders around the outside, it's got no scroll bar, hasn't got watch in the way of menus, etc. It particularly looks like that if I switch over, for example, now to, which I'm trying to do, tablet mode. Go to tablet mode, you'll notice I get a whole screen there, and it takes up the whole screen. I don't see anything else on the screen. And also, there's no things up at the top right-hand corner, as opposed to other programs, for example, and also usually, I'll just switch that off, won't show the apps icon. Usually it doesn't even show the taskbar, all right? As opposed to other programs, for example, if I start an ordinary Windows program, for example, if I go over here to, what programs have I got? I'll go to the bottom, to see what programs I've got running. It's a bit hard to do that when I'm in non-tablet mode. I'll go out of tablet mode again, and I'll go to a program, for example, that I've got running like I had before, like WordPad. You notice in WordPad, we've got the traditional minimize button, we've got traditional restore down, we've got the traditional close up here in the top right-hand corner. We've also got a menu, we've got a ribbon, and we've got other things at the top, and also we've got a status line at the bottom. If I go to that other program again, no status line at the bottom. I have got this one, I'm in non-tablet mode. I'm in non-tablet mode. I've got the minimize, restore down, and close, but I don't have it when I'm in tablet mode. So if I switch back to tablet mode, which I'm about to do now, I don't get that. All right. So the whole idea of these universal apps is they're designed to be used with a touch screen and on tablets and on phones. Okay, so that's how you distinguish between the two. All right, the next thing we're going to look at, and I've got to go back out of tablet mode. I want to find out where my programs are going to do next. How are they used? So how they're used and how they're used differently to ordinary programs. Now, if you've used ordinary programs, used to using ordinary programs where you do things, you've got menus, etc., right? With you've got universal apps, they operate differently. So how do they operate differently? All right, so let's go back to this program again. If I go back to tablet mode again, just to show you, tablet mode. All right. One thing is you'll notice when I'm in tablet mode, I have no indication whether how to close the program or shut it down. If I go up to the top here and point at the top, which I'm doing now, sometimes, there we are. Well, sometimes that happens. I'm in full screen mode. No, doesn't even do it there. Yes, sometimes I'll get the little X there, and sometimes I'll get the minimize button there. If I move away from that, I'm not getting that. All right. However, if I want to close it another way, this is the way of closing these sort of universal apps that was invented by Windows 8, is you grab it at the top, grab it, try and do it, it's not going to work, grab it, I've grabbed it at the top, and I pull it down. I pull it to the bottom of the screen, that switches it off, okay? So then it goes back to the start screen. All right, just to show another one, if I look at, for example, calendar program, and once again you'll notice it goes full screen initially. All right, once again no shutdown. I don't see that unless I point up the top here or touch it. All right, so if I want to shut that one down, I grab it at the top, and I'll just say no to that. I grab it at the top and I drag it down, or if I drag it to the left there, it takes up half the screen. I can see other things that I've got running when I'm in tablet mode. Right? So that's the big difference. The other thing that tends to be different on it is quite often you don't see things. If you want to use something, you don't actually see a function to do it. For example, there's nothing there of a menu. However, if I click up here, I collapse on something, I might get some sort of menus. Right? So things tend to be hidden in universal apps as opposed to the old apps that are hidden. So that's the main distinction about the way you use it. I suggest if anybody's going to use universal apps on a PC that hasn't got, it's not a tablet, that what you do is you make sure you don't use it in tablet mode, and then that way, if you want, for example, however, having said that, I've just realised that if I have it half screen, which I've got it here, it also doesn't show the close. All right, what I've got to do is I've got to click on there, then it's partly screen, then it shows the close. Okay, so that's the big distinction between the way you use ordinary applications and the way you use universal apps. The fact that when it's whole screen, you don't see things, and if you want to see things, you've got to move the mouse around to find the things that you want. And if you want to close it down, you've got to drag it to the bottom of the screen. If you want to resize it to the left, you've got to, so it's part of the screen, you've got to drag it over to do that sort of thing. So that's universal apps. Got any questions, email me. Other than that, goodbye.